Hello AQA students, it's paper 2, hot topics now for paper 2. Your job is to weigh these topic areas up. An extra 5-10% of your time should be devoted to these topic areas so that if they come up, you're laughing, you're scoring the highest marks. But you're not disregarding other areas of the course. Your job is to revise everything, but just to weigh up these areas a bit more so that even if these don't come up, you have still got the content knowledge to score the highest marks on other questions. Note that this is one video in my revision for 2023 exams playlist. Many more to come, many uploaded already. Make sure we're watching the videos in that playlist. Know that I got a specific AQA exam technique playlist as well. Watch the videos there and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss any important exam uploads to come. So here we go. Key hot topics now for paper 2 revision. First of all, make sure you're well aware of the pros and cons of the major macro indicators, in particular, growth and unemployment I have my mind on. Because during the heart of the COVID crisis, growth was awful in the UK, unemployment rose. So knowing the pros and cons of both, ready for an exam question themed to that, you'll be in a fantastic place. But also note that in 2020, we were suffering a major risk of deflation. Inflation was regularly below 1%, threatening deflation. So make sure you know the consequences of deflation, ready in case an essay question comes about that. Next is macro policy. We're expecting big 25 markers on macro policy. But when these questions come up, they're often linked to themes in the UK economy. My mind is very much on fiscal and monetary policy. Yes, of course, you still revise supply side policies. You have to revise everything, but give an extra weighting to fiscal and monetary policy. Now, what themes can we link to? Well, with fiscal policy, heavy expansionary fiscal policy during COVID times, big increases in government spending, big tax cuts as well to try and drive our economy out of recession, help it out during that economic crisis. But that's not the current theme. The current theme is very much contractionary fiscal policy to reduce budget deficits, reduce the national debt, try and mend government finances to deal with the mountain of COVID debt that we racked up. You need to know a bit about both themes. You need to know the pros and cons, very importantly, of both sides of fiscal policy. Pros and cons of expansionary fiscal policy and high national debt, high budget deficits, the pros and cons of contractionary fiscal policy, mainly to reduce national debt, reduce budget deficits. Luckily for you, a video is coming very, very soon where I'm going to give you everything you need linked to that theme. So wait for that. It's all going to come, stats, context, but also some major arguments as well. With monetary policy, similar themes. Again, very expansionary monetary policy during the heart of the COVID crisis, big cuts in interest rates, huge increases in quantitative easing. We were even discussing the need for negative interest rates. So knowing about those policies, the pros and cons there, a bit of context as well. But the current theme with monetary policy is very much contractionary as well, especially the need for higher interest rates to tame inflation. So knowing the pros and cons of higher interest rates. Again, a video is coming with monetary policy, links to the UK economy. All the key context stats you need will be in that video. Your major arguments will be there as well. So make sure you've watched that to help you in case a question comes on monetary policy, either theme this year. Next, you guys should be revising very strongly current account deficit consequences, linking those consequences to the UK's large current account deficit, but also thinking about Turkey. Now, this is not for you to go and research the Turkish economy in huge detail to understand the Turkish current account deficit in loads and loads of detail. Just know some basic knowledge. The reason I'm saying Turkey, they've had a current account deficit for a long time now, and it's basically ruined their economy. It's caused huge negative consequences macroeconomically in the Turkish economy. We've seen similar things happen in Sri Lanka, in Pakistan, but Turkey have had their issues for a lot longer. Could be ripe for an exam question this year. I think if it was to come up, it would be in section A, paper 2. You'd have extracts to guide you, but your job is just to know, in particular, the consequences of a large, persistent current account deficit. Could easily be a 25 marker. Linked to that, exchange rates. You want to know exchange rates well. Major theme, exchange rate depreciation linked back to Turkey, but also other countries potentially, but in particular, Turkey. Lira has been so weak. It's caused hyperinflation in Turkey. It stemmed from a very large current account deficit. Just know exchange rate changes in detail, but especially focusing on a depreciation, your analysis points, your evaluation points. Next, revise well the topic area of protectionism, specifically the pros and cons of rising protectionism. The world is going much more protectionist, led by Donald Trump, kept in place by Joe Biden. The USA is leading the world with a protectionist rhetoric. Many other countries are following as well. So yeah, the pros and cons of rising protectionism, good to weigh up in your revision. The UK, though, is kind of on its own, not going protectionist, going free trade. Our politicians have come out and they've said we want the UK to be a champion of free trade. We want to be signing free trade deals with many countries around the world. We have done so. The one that's gained the headlines the most, though, is the Australia free trade deal that we've signed. That could be a context-based question this year in Section A of Paper 2. Might be a year too early, but your job is to revise things anyway to make sure you're revising in context. So protectionism is my focus, but also just knowing the pros and cons of free trade, linking to free trade deals that the UK signed, most notably with Australia. A big policy that we used in the UK recently was to cut the amount of spending on foreign aid. So generally speaking, you guys should weigh up development economics. There's a very good chance you can get big essays on that this year. But if there is a theme, maybe that's the theme that examiners can latch onto. The implications of the UK cutting aid spending, how that can affect certain developing countries. But more generally speaking, just know about strategies that promote development, aid more generally speaking, trade, market-based policies, interventionist policies. Just know your strategies that can promote development, the pros and cons of those, revise development economics well. And lastly, AQA sometimes can pick narrow areas of the macro course and ask questions about it. If there is one narrow area that comes to mind that's been a theme recently, it's very low oil prices. This goes back to 2020. At the heart of the COVID crisis, oil prices fell off the cliff edge. So you guys discussing the implications of that for oil exporting countries, for oil importing countries, could be an interesting 25-mark question. And that's it, the major hot topic areas to weigh up in your revision for paper 2. Hopefully some of these come up and then you're laughing, scoring the highest marks. But remember, you're revising everything in the course so that no matter what the question is, you can secure the highest possible grades. But thank you for watching, guys. Stay tuned for a lot more that will be coming in my revision for 2023 exams playlist. So much more to come to help you. Subscribe to the channel, watch those videos. Can't wait to see you in those videos. Thanks for watching, guys.